It's not Monday night, though, Coach. It's Tuesday night. We had a basketball game on Monday night. So Beyond the Barracks, and we come your way live from Montana, is out here on Red Bank Road in Goose Creek. It's good to see you. It's been a couple of days, and you've had a couple of days to digest what really was kind of a tough day Saturday.
It was a tough day, but I tell you what, we're at a great venue tonight, Montana's Red Bank Road. These guys are totally awesome. Wings, burgers, whatever you want, they can fix it your way.
Yeah, you told me, too, that it was the best steak in the state of South Carolina. That's a lot of miles now.
Absolutely. I'll put that up against anybody.
All right, so we'll get after that here after a while. But we've got a good show coming up. We're going to obviously digest this game. Disappointing outcome against Chattanooga. Look, you knew what you were kind of coming into the season. You've made a lot of strides, but maybe, and this is just the appearance to Lee and I upstairs, to some degree, is it first of all, it's a closer game than the score would indicate. I think anybody would agree with that.
Yes.
But there's an element maybe going back to that learning how to win thing you've talked a lot about, where maybe you guys didn't handle the bye as well as you guys as coaches would have liked.
No, you're absolutely correct, and that's part of building a total program.
Right.
How to handle coming out of a bye. If you recall, I said earlier, I said, man, I wish we didn't have a bye. I wish we were playing because we were in our routine. Things were going well, but it's part of it. We're going to learn from it. We're going to close ranks. We're going to keep marching and move forward.
You know, the one thing about as you make progress through these things, everything is a learning experience. We go back all the way, and I talked a little bit to one of the assistants on the pregame show last. We go all the way back to that Charleston Southern game where you guys are down 18 points. You rally. That sets a bit of a tone for the season where you're really not out of any game. And the reason I bring that up, later on in the season, you have that devastating loss against Furman that gets away at the end. But instead of folding up the tents, your guys responded well to it. And I don't see any reason to expect they won't respond well to not playing very well last night. If anything, it motivates them more.
Yeah, we'll respond. We'll be back. I had to leave practice early today to get to the venue tonight, but meetings went very well. The practice portion that I was able to be a part of was high-spirited. Guys were moving around fast. We want to get after Wofford. One thing that I learned today, and I didn't realize it, we have only beat Wofford 4 times in the last 25 years.
Right.
I had no clue.
I was looking through the notes and kind of noted that same, and there was one stretch of those was really, really long in there too. And it's not like there'd be any reason for them to have some kind of advantage one way or the other. It's just the way things have turned out. But as much motivation as you already have, that adds to it that much more.
Absolutely. Now, one thing we are going to do, we're going to focus on us.
Right.
Year one and the beginning of the season, I've talked a lot about the opponent, but we need to look in the mirror. It's going to be about us and what we do in order to win this game.
And it really goes back, and this game last Saturday is emblematic. I use this probably too much, but it goes right back to that not who you play, how you play thing. And you guys just didn't play very well.
No, we didn't. You've heard me say the stats already. We had 7 penalties. That's uncharacteristic for us. We're a team that averages 3 penalties. And on defense, 4 of those penalties were the big boys. They were the 15-yarders. And then 2 of the penalties on offense were holding after we had positive gains on first down on the plus side of the field or midfield. So that's just hard to overcome when you're playing a nationally ranked, a nationally caliber team.
One of the cool moments in that game, and as you know, I mean, I'm at practice generally 1 day a week. And when I was at practice this last week, I always talk to Coach Coaxum because he's always out there, really, really early. But so they're working on those little special teams things they do before practice gets going, and they were practicing the very version of that onside kick that you wound up running in the game. That was a cool thing to kind of see that coming, where they all kind of are huddled up, and then you see them clap, oh boy, here it comes, and you got it too.
Yes, sir. So when we went in at halftime, we were down 14-0. Definitely wasn't panicked. The goal was definitely kickoff, 3 and out. We get the ball back. Let's drive down the field and score. We did that.
Right.
And we told the guys in the locker room at halftime, as soon as we score, we're going with the surprise onside kick. We executed that. The problem was we did not finish after that. We had 2 turnovers back to back that we lost, and at that time, it got away from us.
Where was it along the way, out of curiosity, in your career as a coach? And obviously you would have probably been on them some when you played too. Where was it that you took such an interest in special teams and really developed, not that everybody knows how important they are, but the belief that that's a core part of the game, and if you really excel in that area and work hard at that area, it can give you a big advantage. Where was it in your career that you kind of started to get that way?
Well, believe it or not, it was right here at the Citadel as a redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore. Coach Al Simonson was our special teams coordinator at the time, and he gave me an opportunity to play. That was my way of getting on the field, and I never forgot that.
Yeah, and there are a lot of guys that end up being pretty good players and names you know pretty well that earned their opportunity on special teams. To that end, are there some guys on your team this year that have kind of rocketed themselves further up in the discussion as far as playing time based on the way they performed in these opportunities?
Absolutely. We believe in rewarding from within, rewarding those who work hard. So Will Ramey, who's a reserve wide receiver, he was a scout team player that he started showing flashes. He and Wilson Long, I want to talk about both of them.
Yeah.
They're reserve receivers. They did a great job of on scout teams, special teams, being noticed. And then we promoted them to special teams. And then from special teams, they're doing well to the point where Will actually took some snaps at receiver this past game. So, I'm excited about guys who do it that way.
Yeah, and it's just such a fun thing to watch as players find a way to earn playing time, and special teams is certainly one way to do it. Well, one of the other things that was in this game, and I know that you always kind of will attack a team based on the looks they're giving you and things like that. In the end, and I didn't even realize this until the game was over, you guys only threw the ball 10 times in the game.
Yeah, that's accurate. We wanted to establish what we're calling our four-headed monster right now.
Right.
You've heard me use the term, we want to play boring ball where we're 4 yards in a cloud of dust. We're playing that type of football for us right now is where we need to be, because we're playing against explosive offenses, and if we can win the time of possession, that means their offense is not on the field. So that's what we're trying to do there.
Bulldogs take on Wofford this week, the annual dog fight, if you will, here in the state of South Carolina as the Dogs take on Wofford. That's a 1:30 kickoff. That's at Gibbs Stadium in Spartanburg. And unless you're coming to Spartanburg, we will be on the air with radio coverage at 12:30, Lee Glaze and I, from Gibbs Stadium. But obviously we'll get into Wofford a little bit more. These conference games, though, as we sit here with one of them now left to go, there are a number of them you could have and didn't get over the hump in, but far more competitive, and you've left marks on all these opponents, whether or not you've actually come out of there with the win, and that's progress as you're building a program here.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to digress. Let's talk about the Wofford game that you mentioned. We're playing for a trophy. So I asked Jay Sullivan today, our SID, what is the name of the trophy? The trophy doesn't have a name.
Really?
I think you may have just coined it. Dogfight.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a dogfight.
Yeah.
So let's go out there and let's bring that trophy home.
I've never even seen this trophy. You guys are piling up these kind of trophies. You got the Low Country Boil Bowl trophy, and now you can hopefully get this one. But yeah, I wasn't aware that it was necessarily a trophy game either. And that's one that conference play, I mean, last year the difference was pretty noticeable. And this year, as you've grown and developed guys and they've come along and matured and all that, you're really not that far away in a lot of respects here in the SoCon.
Yeah, I believe that. That is an accurate statement. We are close, and that is the Southern Conference right now.
Right.
There's a lot of parity, and because you have a lot of parity, you're going to have games that can go either way.
This game, of course, that comes up, and we'll preview Wofford here in a little bit, but this game that comes up is the last one in conference, so you want to get that one as much as anything so you get that fifth win. You never say never, but your last game of the season is at Clemson too. So your best shot at that 5th win is this week.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
What is a game like that against? Everybody knows the check game scenario, but how does a game like that against Clemson, looking a little further, how does that benefit you guys?
Well, it definitely benefits, and I'm gonna tell you first and foremost at the FCS level, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. My one job is not to forget to check.
Right.
Because we're going to get a big check for going to Clemson to play. Outside of that, we're going to be very competitive. We're going to run our offense. We're going to play and defense and special teams. We're going to play a lot of players. And make no mistake about it, we will have a plan that we're going to try to execute to win a football game.
You know, the one thing about that, too, is that there's so much value from the standpoint of the experience for these young guys to get a chance to go play on a field like that against a program like that. That's a never-forget-it kind of experience. And it's been known to happen that somebody can occasionally jump up and bite somebody like this, too.
Absolutely. We've been a part of it.
Yeah.
We've been a part of it, and it's really fun, and we have some tricks up our sleeve that we're going to utilize with the men in our messaging as we approach that week.
And we'll of course get into that one a little bit more, but the teams would appear to be fairly evenly matched. That was not one of the prettier games a year ago. You remember the 11-8, the rain, it was terrible, the conditions at Johnson-Haygood, and they got out of there with that one. You alluded to the fact that whatever it is, 4 of the last 25 times, the only times you've gotten them, so you're long overdue to get these guys.
Oh my goodness. We have to.
Yeah. Well, we have more coming up for you. Rhett Russell, Coach has brought people that you don't always hear their names that help him a tremendous amount. So we're going to bring them up in the next segment. We're going to talk some more about Citadel football as the Dogs get ready to take on Wofford. Record stands at 4-6 right now. Chance to get that 5th one. We'll certainly talk about Wofford as we preview this game coming up with Coach after a while. This is Beyond the Barracks. Joe Mack is in studio running us as he always is. Yeah, it's good to be back here. I missed a couple of these in a row. It's not quite the same.
Oh, it wasn't quite the same without you. We're glad to have you back. No knock on Lee, but it's nothing like having you in studio.
Honestly, I was listening to it in Arizona, and I'm thinking Lee Glaze has Wally pipped me here.
he tried his best.
No, he did a great job. Look, Lee's so much fun to work with, because he's got so much passion for Citadel sports, and he's lived it and all that stuff, and it just makes him ideal to do the things he does with us. And
that's right.
I appreciate him a great deal. Right here, we'll step aside and take a timeout. We will be back with more. We are at Montana's here in Goose Creek on Red Bank Road. This is Beyond the Barracks. I'm Brian Giffen with Citadel football coach Maurice Drayton. Back with more after this on the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network. Beyond the Barracks, although this is a Tuesday edition of Beyond the Barracks. As we come your way live from Montana's on Red Bank Road here in Goose Creek, I'm Brian Giffen with the head coach of Citadel football, Maurice Drayton, and now Lynn Mensler joins us. And first of all, it's good to have you here. For one, you're probably, look, I always lament how busy coaches and people who work in sports are anyway, but when I'm up there in the football offices, I don't see anybody any busier than her.
Oh, she stays busy.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you do. Now, a lot of your work obviously is important, but it's also behind the scenes. It's not the kind of thing we're going to do play-by-play of, so to speak.
Absolutely. I always say if you don't hear my name or if you don't see me, that means I'm doing my job right. If it's when my name gets called or when somebody's looking for me, that means something's going wrong.
Right. So you're kind of a fixer of sorts.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
you guys go back a ways, as we were just talking about during the break. Go back into your history together a little bit.
Yeah, we actually met in 2010 when I took a job at Coastal Carolina under David Bennett, who, by the way, used to teach and coach at Goose Creek High School right down the street. But I think this would be a great time for Lynn to maybe tell her story, how she got into a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Well, I went to Coastal. I went to school at Coastal. I went down there to be a marine science major, took one marine geology class and said, nope, this is not for me. So I started working in the athletic department. I did some kind of game operations type stuff. So I was actually there before they started football. And I'd been with the athletic department about a year when football came in, and they sent me over into the football office and said, the ropes, kind of go help them out. So I started out with Coach Bennett their first year there and just did admin type stuff, and recruiting season rolled around. They were like, oh, you should help out with recruiting too. So I said, okay. So I did that, and then spring ball rolled around. They were like, oh, you should be a manager too. So I did that, and so I kind of worked all three of those aspects until I graduated, and then I was fortunate enough, Coach Bennett hired me on after graduation and kind of carried the same roles through his tenure. And then when Coach Moglia came in, George Glenn, who was the DFO there at the time, he kind of felt like my talents were being wasted, so he brought me over to the operations office, and that's really where I found my niche. So a lot of what I did is I would say 90% of my job at the time was team travel, doing the hotels, the buses, the flights, the food, that kind of stuff. And so I did that with Coach Moglia for about 6 more years. I worked under Coach Chadwell that year. He was there, and then I went out to Missouri State and I became the DFO out there. I was out there for 5 years, first under Coach Steck and then under Coach Petrino.
Oh, yeah, I actually got to see them when Steckel was there. We played them. It's an interesting dynamic. You talk about being there when they started the Coastal program. I got to kind of go through that too at Kennesaw State. That's a unique situation when you're there for the pillars. I mean, really the ground-breaking elements of that. That's a cool experience nobody can ever take away.
Oh, and it was interesting back then, because I always tell people, as much as it has changed in a short amount of time, like, they don't understand. Like, we that first fall, they were out there practicing on an old deserted driving range, and the guys would come in after practice and be covered in ant bites from the red ant hills. And then before the stadium was there, it was an old watermelon patch, and spring ball we had to go all the way to Conway to practice on their rec field. So it's come a long way in a short amount of time.
Well, how about this now? I wasn't there, but I heard the very first practice they did not have a football and had to go to Walmart and buy a football to practice. How about that?
That's well, you said it was a former melon patch. They could have picked one of those up and chucked it around.
Absolutely.
Honestly, and I found it fascinating, just since we're talking about Coastal and you were there in that era. When I was at Kennesaw State, I found the whole Joe Moglia situation kind of fascinating. Anybody who doesn't know the story, he was away from the game and made a mega success of himself over the years, and then came back later on because he always wanted to scratch the itch, and he won there. He had a good run there.
I think a lot of that was he was so successful in the business field because of how he managed the people that worked for him, and it really transferred over into the football field because of not just how he dealt with the players but the coaches. I learned so much under him and under George, just for the way they they operate it like a business. Like every minute of your day is accounted for in the schedule as far as meetings and whatnot. But you were super efficient because you didn't have a choice but to be.
One of the things that, and I mean, everybody knows about assistant coaches and how grueling the hours and all that are. For you, in the role that you're in, as you're, especially during the season when you're between games and things like that, is your schedule the same level of frenetic, a lot like coaches and stuff, where you're kind of just burning the candle at several ends and all that?
Oh yeah, sometimes even more so, especially when I was out at Missouri State with the travel and whatnot. There are a lot of times, like, I'd wake up on Friday mornings of like a flight or an away game, and I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning worried about everything I still had to do for the day. So I'd be in the office at 4:30, 5 o'clock before even people thought about getting out of bed. So yes, I'm there. There are certain times when I don't have to be there when they are, like late at night when they're meeting and game planning, but there's a lot of days that I'm there before them or after them because there's other things to be done.
I just think it's cool that we get the opportunity to do these kinds of things, because when the team wins and when things are going well and this and that, the accolades always go to the players first, the coaches, all that, but there's so many more people involved that make the whole thing go. I mean, on all different levels, from the guys who help with equipment in the locker room to even cleaning up the locker, this and that.
Yes.
And it really is, this sport more than any, I think, a huge team effort just because of how many people it takes.
Absolutely.
And all of them are important.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the greatest accomplishments that I can have in my job is when the coaches or the players come up to you on an away game or at a meal, like once you've picked out like even a post-game meal that everybody's super excited about, and they're like, "Oh, Miss Lynn, thank you so much. This was so good. You did such a good job." To me, like, that's as good as any wins in the column for me.
Now, I know you had aspirations about the marine geology and all those things, but I mean, are you pretty much a lifelong football fan though, and you've loved the sport?
I think I'm stuck with it now. Yeah, I've always been a football fan. I grew up in Ohio, big Notre Dame football fan.
Yeah.
My whole family. I am still a Browns fan, as hard as that is at times, but I still support my Brownies. But yeah, my whole family's been a big sports fan, a big Cleveland sports fan, and football's along with that. So I think I'm stuck in it now. I can't imagine myself doing anything else at this point.
It's just funny, the forks in the road sometimes that happen. And I mean this, especially when you meet folks who maybe didn't necessarily aspire to be in it. And in my case, I think I aspired to do this when they wouldn't let me play anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as a lot of coaches and things like that. I mean,
Exactly.
you find a way to stay in it.
Correct.
But I'm always fascinated when people come along that actually had other aspirations and then kind of find their way into it and then thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like I fell into it, but I always think that, God has a plan for you, and sometimes his plan is bigger than your own plan for yourself, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
Isn't it funny on team travel and things like that, really just day to day, how much difference it makes when you win? It really, I mean, the whole mood, the whole modus operandi, the needle is pointing up, but it really is, because it's such a team effort.
Yeah.
Everybody's pulling the rope, and when you win, it's the greatest thing in the world.
I've had many away games where if it could go wrong, it did. Like the flight was terrible, like everything was late, the food was late. But if you get that win, everybody forgets about it on the way home.
Right. Like you said, the food tastes better, the whole 9 yards. Lynn, it's been great to have you come up and talk. Obviously, everybody, I think, appreciates, even though they maybe don't even know how much you do, everybody appreciates it, certainly. And Coach has been so good at bringing people here so that we could tell their stories a little bit more.
Yeah,
We couldn't cover all the things she does in this segment. I tell you what, the players are so thankful to have Miss Lynn in the office. She handles grades, she tutors, she's a mentor, she's a counselor. I could go on and on and on about the things she does for our program, and we're very thankful to have her.
No question. Well, Lynn Mentzer, our guest here on Beyond the Barracks. We're going to step aside and take a break. Next, we'll bring Russell up here, Rhett Russell, seated right over there. And it's another operations guy, but a guy who's done a lot of operations in pads, too, and for both these teams as they get ready for this game this week. Lynn, thanks so much for coming over and hanging out with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Beyond the Barracks, we are back at Montana's after this. You're listening to the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network. Beyond the Barracks. Yeah, we are at Montana's here in Goose Creek on Red Bank Road tonight, and we're talking Citadel football and Citadel athletics in general. By the way, great basketball game last night. The Dogs
was, yes.
taking out Stetson. Honestly, I was surprised. They had a bunch of six. They had 3 or 4 guys that were 6'10". They had 2 7-footers too. And our team even out rebounded. So
we ran them out the gym.
Yeah, it was a good night. So, needless to say, well, our guest now is Rhett Russell, who's done a little bit of everything here at the Citadel, and honestly, a little bit of everything as it relates to this upcoming game, because you played your regular 4 at Wofford, and then you came here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. But like Coach always says, this is a big one. This one's the biggest one of the year, but just because it's the next one.
Now, you're in an operations role now, and you're helping in the football offices in any number of different regards. You told me the other day when we were talking, your longer-term goal is actually to work in personnel to whatever degree here in the sports business, correct?
Yeah. So I do a little bit of personnel things. Coach Sands lets me help him with recruiting here and there. I like the personnel stuff a whole lot. I'd like to eventually move into a role like that, but I really love what I'm doing right now, working with Coach and Miss Lynn.
By the way, a belated one, but happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
25.
Ryan's birthday was a couple of days ago. Now, I'm going to quiz you here for a minute. I know Coach is going to know. Do you know the name Bum Phillips at all?
I might have heard it before.
You got to Google Bum Phillips, man. He was a coach of the Houston Oilers in the NFL now the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
Back when they played.
Yes.
And he wore the coolest cowboy hats on the sidelines ever. It was like a 10-gallon. And he also had some of the best quotes ever. He was a really. I know, Coach, you would remember him. So yeah, that's what that reminds me of when you're down there and you got that blue suit working and that 10-gallon hat on the sideline. Where did you come up with that?
Okay, so it was my first game as a part of the staff for Charleston Southern, and I wanted to just wear something fun, and so I put the hat and the suit on just to get off the bus.
Right.
And then I wanted to put just like a regular collared shirt on and all that. And then I think it was the Mercer game or something, the shirt that I wore had like barbecue sauce on it, so I couldn't change. So I had to wear the hat and the full suit the whole game, and I almost passed out on the sideline.
It was
so hot.
It was so hot.
But now the guys are like, oh, man, you got to wear the suit and the hat. So now I don't have a choice. It's not up to me anymore.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Now, your dad is a coach, obviously. Your dad's been a coach at Allatoona High School, where you played football, too, over in Ackworth, Georgia. And your dad was a Georgia Southern guy, baseball player, correct?
Yeah, he played on the World Series team back in the 90s.
Yeah, and your sister, Cham, she just graduated from Georgia Southern and was a volleyball star down there.
Yeah, she had a really good career down there and just finished up.
So aside from fashion sense, there's some real athleticism in your family.
In the family.
I guess so.
Right. But, so this is a unique situation because Rhett and I kind of go back just coincidentally quite a ways. I mean, so I know his family, and it was from the period where I left the Braves, and I had a no-compete clause, so I had to do something else.
Yeah.
So I was broadcasting college football, but I also had to, be a general manager of a sports bar, a restaurant. And they used to come there. The Russells still go there.
How about that?
So now this would have been about the time, though, that you were a freshman or a sophomore at Wofford, beginning of your years at Wofford.
Yep.
So the funny thing, of course, is, I got to know, actually his stepmom, Jeannie, worked for my doctor for years and years. So there's a lot of weird connections there. But so the funny thing, Coach, is that I used to tease Rhett when I'd see them at Guston's, this place where I worked in the Atlanta area. It's the off season. We maybe had knocked them off in the playoffs.
Beat us in the playoffs 2 years in a row.
I'm like, man, you still didn't get us, this and that. So then when I get hired to come over here, and he's playing over here, so then I message him, hey, man, we're finally on the same side.
Yeah,
that's right.
I like it.
Yeah. And then we had a tough year, but now we've had a better one.
Much better.
Yeah. So we're visiting with Rhett Russell, though, you got to, have you reached the point, you told me this earlier in the year, that all of us get there, but have you missed the putting the pads on and hitting yet? I know you were tired. I know you're beat up at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
it's coming. If you haven't missed it yet, it's coming.
I miss it sometimes. I mean, I was fortunate enough to play 6 years. That's a lot of football.
Right.
So sometimes I miss it. Like when the team runs out on the field on Saturday, I'm like, dang, I would love to be out there. But then most of the time it's like, oh, I have a hard time putting my shoulders or my arms above my head, and I think I'm good.
So how much in your role now, you coordinate a lot of things, as you said, with Miss Lynn. And I mean, when I'm in the offices kind of waiting to do interviews, this and that, I see the two of you busy tasking various things. You're involved in a whole lot of stuff there, from organizing food to come in. I mean, the hotel rooms, all kinds of stuff yourself, yeah?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do a lot of the food. The guys have to have some lunches a couple of days a week. We've got snack at night. I do all the orders for the weekends. Got to put the guys on special orders since we're military college, stuff like that. And then my big job for game weeks when we're at home is doing all the recruits. So putting them all into the system, getting them all checked off, and making name tags, stuff like that, getting them set up to come on their visits.
How much do you guys, Coach, help utilize folks like Rhett? I'm sure it's all hands on deck when you're recruiting and things like that. But this is a guy that recently, of course, has left the field. Kind of speaks a little bit of the language more of the generation of people. Just wondering, how far down you go with regard to that.
Yes. Outside of when I talk coaching, outside of the defensive back coaches, the special teams coaches, Rhett Russell and Lynn Mincer, they have the worst job on campus because they have to handle everything, and they babysit me. And every second of the day, I'm on them about, hey, what's happening with the schedule? Where's the recruiting list? Where's the hotel list? Food, travel. It's just so much that they do, and they do a good job of putting up with me. I know they talk about me behind my back, but that's okay.
Never.
Now, having just graduated from the Citadel Graduate College recently and all that stuff, and now having been in this role, is it more demanding? In other words, is it having played and then moved into this more of an administrative and operations type of role? Is there a lot more to it than you would have envisioned on this side of it?
Yeah. So I volunteered here for like 8 months, and it was a shock to my system to see all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Because the guys on the team, they're only in the facility a couple hours a day, but we're there all day. So we've got probably 9 hours of stuff that we're working on that they're not even there for, and I just had no idea.
No, that's crazy. Well, Rhett, it's great to have you come up here and hang out with us. Obviously, I'm really happy to see that you stayed here just because got to work with you and call the games the first year that I was here, and it was really good to have you back here this year. So look forward. You'll be a part of this thing in some form or the other for a long time.
He's a rock star.
Right.
I tell you, he's a rising star in the business. He's a rock star. There's going to be people that's going to come and get him, and I'm going to do my best to fight him off.
Yeah. In the meantime, we want to make sure we don't get too many listeners to try to get in here and get his autograph. If they had seen that outfit, they'd be in here asking for his autograph.
Yeah, my autograph is not worth anything.
So how much, obviously that stuff hasn't been, I think I've seen a little bit of it on social here or there. I haven't seen a lot of it, but what does Jeannie and your dad say about the suit? Are they entertained?
They think I'm ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I saw they were here. I missed them again.
Yeah. They think I'm ridiculous. Like, why don't you just dress like a normal person? And I wish I could, but like I said, that's not up to me anymore.
No,
now
can't.
Now it's my thing.
Right.
And I got a shout out the other day on the broadcast because I told Cooper Wallace that if he scored, he could wear the hat on the sideline. So he comes off the field after that long touchdown. And he takes my hat off my head and he starts walking around the sideline.
That's funny.
I love it.
That's funny.
I love it. I truly love that. That is awesome.
Yeah, some of the things like that, I think that people don't understand, though, that go on are part of what make you love this game. That camaraderie element and all those things you get to live and go through with all these guys every year. Yeah. It's hard to ever let go of that.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Rhett is hanging out with us right now. We have probably taken up way too much of your time.
It was awesome.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for being out here.
It.
Yeah,
absolutely.
this was
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will, obviously, we got to have your perspective here. You were the Wofford guy, so,
That's right.
I'm going to get 2 keys from Rhett. What do we got to do to beat Wofford?
Total domination up front. I want the big fellas to have a day. And then we got to get the backs going. All 4 of them are great players, and we got to get them.
Roll up a couple of C notes.
Yeah, they got to go.
Between the 4.
Yes.
All right. right. Well, that's
I love it. He's right on.
Safe pick. Yeah, no doubt about it. Rhett, thanks a bunch, my man.
Hey, thank you.
Rhett Russell, another
awesome.
of Coach's valuable right-hand people in the offices over here at the Citadel, spending some time with us here. And he, of course, played on last year's team, too. Played the last couple of years here after playing at Wofford. This is Beyond the Barracks. We're live at Montana's, and we are going to be back with another segment, and we'll preview the Wofford game after this. You're listening to the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network.
Awesome. You did a great
continues, and we are live tonight at Montana's here on Red Bank Road in Goose Creek. And Beyond the Barracks is presented by Cutwater Spirits. Brian Giffen with the head coach of the Citadel, Maurice Drayton, as we get ready for this game now against Wofford. 1:30 kickoff on Saturday, 12:30 air for us on radio for those that aren't going to Spartanburg. But very familiar opponent, obviously.
Yes.
And, a lot of things, maybe you know each other very well, a lot of things to go out there and prove like usual.
We do. Head coach Sean Watson, wow. Yeah, we go way back. When I was at Southern Miss working under Citadel grad Eli Ellis Johnson.
Right.
We played against the University of Louisville, and he was a coach there at the time. And, he's just a great football mind. He does a great job in dissecting his opponents and with the chess piece of football. And then also on his staff, one of his co-defensive coordinators, I actually coached when I was coaching at South Carolina State, Jonathan Saxon. So there is some overlap there, and there's some tendencies that we both have that we may not realize it until we do a deep dive and a deep study. And I was able to find some things today that we will try to utilize. But this will be a tough game. And the chess piece of it for the football mind, for those who study the game, it's going to be real interesting.
There was a fairly significant time period where these two programs, aside from how much they already do, had a significant amount in common. You could have made the case a couple of years ago, 5-6 years ago, these teams get together and you look for an hour and 52-minute game or whatever it is because everybody runs the ball 40 times and you see 12 passes for the game and that's it.
Absolutely. Legendary coach Mike Ayers did a phenomenal job at Wofford. When I took the job here at the Citadel, I've reached out to him just because I wanted to pick his brain.
Sure.
He's a great coach, and he did a great job with their program. And one thing about me, I'm a student of the game. I will reach out to those who've had success just to try to pick up nuggets along the way.
Well, I mean, it's a cumulative thing. It's funny what a big fraternity this business kind of is and how many people you run across that, look, you were in the same foxhole somewhere 3 or 4 years ago, and now you're doing everything in your power to beat it. It's just the nature of the beast sometimes.
Yes, you're absolutely right with that aspect of it. And because of that, there's a gamesmanship that goes on beyond the radio, beyond the TV cameras and things of that nature. And that's why most of us who know each other, we do not speak the week of the game.
Right. Yeah, but, rivalries are that kind of thing. There's a lot of, look, both of them are a dogfight. It's easy. Yes. Both of them are a bulldog, terrier, all that stuff. So you can see a real thing there. Lee always teases, it's like I haven't heard that for whatever, is because I always put that into opens and things like that because it's the best way to describe it. Dogfight, and really, it's a good way to describe the way the games often go.
No, you're right. Now, I don't know the true trivia of the Beacon restaurant. There's a restaurant in Spartanburg called the Beacon.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it is unbelievably good. And I believe, I could be mistaken, there's two owners. One's a Wofford grad and one's a Citadel grad. And depending on who wins the game each year, they have a friendly rivalry and a friendly bet.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I've heard of it, and it's been compared to like the Varsity in Atlanta.
Yes,
if you've
exactly.
ever been to the Varsity, a kind of a legendary drive-in.
Exactly.
But so when you watch this year's version of them, they've had an up and down season. They've certainly beaten some good teams. They've won one more game than you guys have. What is it that stands out about them when you watch them? I know they've used 3 different quarterbacks too.
Yes, absolutely. They use 3 different quarterbacks, 3 different skill sets. So you have to prepare for 3 different human beings. That takes practice time. That takes meeting time. So, there's some gamesmanship there with that as well. On special teams, they're doing a good job. But one of our keys, or I'm going to give you multiple keys for us to win on special teams. We have to add to Wofford's punt protection woes. They've had some punts blocked, so we're going to be strategic about what we do and when we attack that. We have to find a way to steal a possession. One thing about teams like this, if we can give our team an extra possession, it gives us a chance to play. And then for the players that we're utilizing on special teams, we just want them to play fast and free, disciplined special teams play within our schemes. If we do that, I feel like that gives us an edge. On defense, our defense has to win in the red zone. When you look at Wofford football, when you look at Wofford's offense, when they're in the red zone, they score points. So we have to win in the red zone. We have to do that. We have to limit their running back. Ryan Ingram is his name. He's 215 pounds, and he runs like a deer, man. This guy, he can do it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on a roster on Sundays. And then outside of limiting him, we have to control their explosives. We've done a good job of that this year. It got away from us last week, but we have to control those explosives. And then outside of that, on offense, we have to establish that four-headed monster again. And what do I mean by that? Our running backs are really, really good. And they could start at various programs in this league, but we have to do a good job of balancing them, making sure they get the touches that they need. No turnovers. We cannot give up the ball. The ball is life. That is my saying this week. Every time I see someone who carries a ball, holds a ball, the ball is life. So we have to win that aspect and then win the fourth quarter. You know, we have a saying where we want to start fast. We want to win the middle 8. We want to finish. Well, I'm erasing the finish portion and I'm replacing it with win the fourth quarter. If we score more points than you in the fourth quarter, chances are we're going to win, because we have been in every game this year, with the exception of the Chatty game, in the fourth quarter, having the opportunity to win.
I'll tell you, it probably gets talked about too much these days, but how important it's really not even an intangible, how important winning on first down is. It's everything.
It's everything.
And that's been a tough thing here in a couple of these games. Now, you guys have been able to overcome that, but winning on first down is going to be one of those things.
It is. And so we're excited about that. We feel like we have a good game plan going in. So what we do on Tuesdays, that's when we practice our openers. Openers I call P and 10. Openers are first and 10. So the difference between a first and 10 and a P and 10, the first and 10s are first downs that you achieve within a drive. A P and 10 is the very first snap that you get of a drive. So we focus on that on Tuesdays. We also focus on our second down calls, whether it's second and long, second and medium, second and short. And that's what we focus from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint. So in our program, we break down our practices during the week based upon scenarios and situations.
It's amazing, too. I mean, you hear coaches harp on it, and there's a reason how important attention to detail is.
Yes.
Because in the overall concept of a 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon, I guess you learn this later in life, but all the attention to detail stuff that makes such a big difference that you don't think about when you're a kid.
No, you don't. Not when you're a kid. You know, I played defensive back. I was a special teams guru. When I got into coaching my first year, it was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. I did not realize all the things that went into being a coach. And, you know, I'm just so thankful to Coach Don Powers, who gave me that opportunity. And I'm thankful to Keith Jones, who allowed me to sit at his basically at his footsteps as I learned how to coach.
It's amazing, too, the level of all the things that you have to attend to that don't necessarily get covered. I mean, to some degree, you're a counselor. To a degree, you're a psychologist. You know what I mean, though. It's just
I know what you mean.
That goes with the territory.
No, it's funny you said that because we're dealing with some things within our program that is outside of football that has been taking my time the last 3 weeks. And it's like, wow. I just want to coach football. And I haven't had that opportunity. But heavy is the head that wears the crown, and it's my responsibility to our players to be upfront and and ready to represent them. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, and it's all part of that whole covenant of being in living rooms and promising parents.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It all goes.
I'm going to do everything I said in that living room. I promise you that.
So when you look at this Wofford team, one of the things that last year's game is a hard one to go back to and judge much from too, because the conditions were so bad. I mean, it was one of those days though where truly scoring any points or anything like that was going to be but you talked about their running back, who is a big, powerful guy. Yes. I mean, I guess you have to pick your poison on how you control them and all of that.
Yeah, last year's game, man, it was tough.
Oh, yeah.
Tough conditions. I was having a discussion today with our punter, James Platt. Can I brag on him?
Absolutely. He's had a great year.
James Platt is the best punter in all of FCS statistically. Right now, he is the second best punter in all of Division I football.
Wow.
FBS and FCS. So very excited about what he's doing this year. But I was having a discussion with him, and he said, Coach, the Wofford game last year was a ugly game. Right. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen, because being a specialist, being a punter, you get a chance to view the game. And, so he talked about that a little bit. He said, hey, if we get those same conditions, what's your plan? So, I talked to him about a plan for those conditions.
Right.
We talked about a plan on a sunny day. But what I think is going to happen, I think we are going to execute what we've been practicing.
Right.
We're excited about what we've been practicing. This is going to be a fun day for us. Yeah. It really is. I'm excited about this game. I want to play this game. I wish we could play it tomorrow.
This has been such a fun season. It's kind of one of those that as we wind down to the end of it here, where you're a little bit along the lines of, well, the ride's been so much fun. Regardless, it always is. Yes. But it's been a fun and rewarding year in a lot of ways, and it'd be great to finish it strong.
Yes, we definitely want to finish it strong, get a win in the conference this week, and it would be great for recruiting. It would be great for what we're trying to do going forward, building a program. Just excited about this opportunity to play this big game, and Rhett Russell already alluded to it. Yeah. Why is it a big game? Because it's the next one.
Right, absolutely. Well, it's been a fun ride. We're going to get to do this again next week, and let's hope that we're doing it after a win.
I like the sound of that. Yeah. And the title of the trophy, you just coined it.
Oh, yeah.
Dogfight.
Dogfight. I like it. Let's go with that.
I like it.
They can call it whatever they want. We'll call it
the Dogfight Trophy.
Yeah, even if we have to whisper it.
Yes.
No. I want to say thanks to everybody at Montana's. It's been fun to be here. This is Beyond the Barracks. We do this typically on Mondays. Basketball pushed us over a night, but it's great to be here, and we appreciate all of you. Thanks to all of the folks here at Montana's. Give yourselves a hand. You guys have been fun. All right. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, there you go. You want to get them to drop a Go Dogs?
No, I love it. I would love to drop Go Dogs, but I want to send a shout-out to Dustin Clark, the proprietor here. Right. He is awesome. Also in the crowd, one of my favorites, Leonard Covington. He is the wrestling coach extraordinaire from Goose Creek High School. Love you, Leonard. Appreciate you.
It's been great to be here. We appreciate it. We appreciate Joe Mack in the studio doing his usual outstanding job. And let's see, I will talk to you guys on Thursday for basketball.
Yes.
And then I will talk to you on Thursday afternoon for football.
That's right.
So, all right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to all of you, and we will talk to you next time, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, Joe, thank you.
I crushed you. I crushed you.